Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Okay, it is Thursday, March 13th, 2025, 6:30 PM. This is hybrid meeting of the Development Review Board. In person, we have Delcy, Patty, myself, Diana, we have Danielle here. And then on Zoom, we have Christine. So because there are four of us, we have a quorum. So, adjustments to the agenda. Like Delcy recommended that we move under business of the board. We move D, the regulation updates up ahead of procedures because there's only one update that we need to discuss, and we have to make sure we get through that one because that's got to go to the planning commission this month, for their meeting this month. So if there are no objections, we will do that. There's no public here, so I assume we have no public comments. There are no hearings this evening, so we will go right to business of the board. Approval of the minutes, February 13th. There are, well, Danielle noted that the top says January, should say February. I have a couple of recommendations, and there's a spelling one under the first hearing, that line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It says tress instead of trees.
Oh, that was the one, yeah, that was.
Brian asked if, but I have a request, if under meeting call to order, can you say by Delcy because she chaired that hearing? At some point, we have to say that Delcy was chairing, just by,
Meeting called to order 6:30 PM by Delcy.
yeah,
Sure.
and you could put in parentheses chair.
Acting chair.
Yeah. And then under hearing, if only because we don't know who Michael Gaines and Brian and Marilee Beatty are. Can we put after Michael Gaines on behalf of the applicant? And after Brian and Marilee, just put interested parties?
Yeah,
I think if we specify who people are.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
put in also present, I put Michael Gaines from Barnard and Jarvis, but
But
yeah,
that
I can
doesn't
say
who
on
he
behalf of
is. Yeah.
applicant. On behalf of applicant, and I can do the Beatties as interested parties.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
And the one thing that, down in the business of the board, driveway discussion and verbiage to recommend to planning commission. And we had the discussion around the wording, but we also had a motion and seconded it, and I believe that's gone forward to the planning commission.
It does say
So-
David motion, Delcy second, unanimous.
Right, so we want to cross out the will be added to March agenda and discussion to include, because it isn't, it was approved and moved forward. So,
Oh, okay, so
So just take.
can I keep driveway discussion and verbiage to recommend to planning commission?
yeah,
And then just cross out will be added to March agenda?
right.
Okay. Yep.
Wow.
Which, by the way, the planning commission voted to accept our verbiage.
Oh, great.
So,
Any other edits to the minutes?
Mm-mm.
Phew.
can we have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll move.
Christine moved a second, Patty second, all in favor?
I,
Okay, unanimously approved. Okay, so we're gonna go into regulation updates. David is not able to be here at this meeting, so Delcy is going to lead this discussion. Thank you, Delcy.
so,
Do you have a
Um,
copy of that, Christine? We can put it
Yeah.
up on the screen.
I'll put, just give me 1 second to pull it up in front of me. Let's see. Delcy, just remind me, the two emails, one is a link and one is draft changes for bylaws. Which one are we doing right now? The draft
draft
changes for
change.
bylaws?
Changes for bylaws.
The Word document, got it in front of me. Okay.
I'm gonna just, share my screen. Oh, Lisa's here too.
Lisa just came on.
Yeah.
So, the planning commission had asked for, or with SM, and they came back with, could we provide a definition for a driveway? And Diana had, and led a discussion at our last meeting about what good verbiage was, and we had quite a discussion, and we came up with a statement that we sent to them. And I'm sorry. But the other thing that they came back to David on was that we had promised them a what we would like to see as corrections or that in the subdivision section of the bylaws in section 6.5. And so there was some wording in, if you go to 6.5, there were several different things that we put forward. One was, well, if you read that, the first paragraph is really just an explanation of why we're suggesting the following changes. And so one of the things that Lisa had found for us was that surveyors really didn't want to provide a stamped survey plat for the final hearing, because they don't want to stamp and then have to make adjustments and things like that. And so we came up with, let's require for the final hearing for a major subdivision, that we have a draft survey plat, which means everything from a surveyor except that they have not stamped it. The bylaw requirements are to stamp it after everything's been approved and it goes in on Mylar. This, they can come to us on a paper edition for the final review. And if we have anything that we want them to change or add on to it, if they're missing something, it's much easier to do it. So that was a suggestion that had come through Lisa back a couple of hearings ago, and I think it's a very valid one. So given that, in table 6.5, there's a column in table 6.5 for final plan review. And suggestion is just to change the heading of that column to draft survey plat. So that it can be ticked off there. And then the other thing in table 6.5, in that first section, it says property boundary survey signed and stamped by licensed land surveyor. And again, we should put draft prepared by licensed land surveyor, so that the red wording there is added wording. So in that first section down towards the end of on the first page, include that. And then in
Delcy, can I interrupt for a minute and ask a question, or do you want to wait until you're done?
No,
the whole
let's
thing.
just go one by one and questions along the way.
So I understand they don't want to have a stamped final and then have to react to the board and change something. But does this mean the board would not see a final one? Like we would only see the draft one?
The board doesn't see them now most of the time.
Well,
Or
the
they
chair
don't- they
though
definitely-
signs off on them,
they-
right?
That's right.
So
chair
the
signs
chair,
off.
I guess, let me rephrase and say, would the chair and or the vice chair see the final one to sign off
Yes.
on to assure
Yes.
that okay,
They would, the chair, or the bylaws require the chair would sign off on the Mylar when it comes in for recording.
okay, so nothing really changes because that's how it's done now.
That, right now, we often don't see, at the final plan review, some of the time, we haven't seen that, we've been the promised of, yes, we'll do this or that. If we want changes, we don't necessarily have to require, I guess this was what you're asking. We don't have to see the changes as long as the chair knows what the changes are for the final.
But
Right.
that's
And
not
this
changing.
is
The
li-
only thing that's changing, Christine, is draft. Is it basically was
and-
the draft
okay.
and
Right.
This is Lisa. Can you hear me?
I just,
go ahead, Christine. Let
So-
Christine finish her
Okay.
comment and then.
right, going to the very end of the process, I just wanted to make sure that, the chair has the opportunity to see the final, Mylar that's going to be filed with the town and ensure that any last minute changes were made. And it sounds like that's still happening the way it happens now.
Right, that's
Um,
in
okay,
section
so-
I.
So
In
Yes.
that's,
section I. So, but that's,
so I'm satisfied with that, and calling
Thank
it
you,
draft is
Christine.
fine.
this is Lisa.
Go ahead,
And
Lisa.
I totally agree with Christine's comment there, but I'm wondering if these changes that are listed in 6.5I, the filing of the final survey plat, where we change to draft, which I think is totally appropriate. If we need to add a specific section in there to address, to make sure it's not presumed that the chair gets final sign off, review and sign off, and actually add another step there that says the chair will provide the review of the final stamped document before it is approved.
It's in there.
It's in there.
It's in I, after survey plat specifications. The next statement is, the chair or acting chairperson of the DRB shall endorse the survey plat.
I'm
That's,
sorry, it's 6.1 what? I'm looking at what's on the screen and I'm not seeing that.
oh,
Page 39,
page 39 of the
bylaws.
bylaws.
Okay, well, I
What's the number?
don't,
Because
Can I
mine,
scroll?
I
I
have
don't
the
know
old.
where.
No,
Page
it's
five.
not, it's not
Oh.
in, it's not in
Five.
here.
not in that
Because-
document. Okay. Okay, I'll pull that up and,
Underneath.
I-
the
So the-
I'm just looking at I'm not looking at the screen that Danielle's sharing. I'm looking at the document with the red line, with the red type that Delcy sent.
Yeah, and that's what,
That-
that's what she's sharing.
That's what's shared up
Yeah.
on the screen.
Okay.
There's no change in the procedure in terms of the final survey plat has to come in on Mylar, and the DRB chair has to look at it and sign it. And that is when it comes in to be recorded. And so that is all written in section I of 6.5.
Then I think we need to change under the first sentence, because it says upon approval of the final plan by the DRB. But I think what we have to do is upon approval of the draft final plan by the DRB. And then say the subdivider shall provide a final survey plat for recording. I think we have to be specific there.
Oh, so you're saying in the first sentence?
In the very
of
first
that?
First
sentence
sentence,
under-
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't
Upon
think that's
approval
included.
of-
Yep.
I don't think that's included here.
So in the first sentence of section I,
It says,
adding draft.
it says upon approval of the final plan by the DRB, but we probably should say, since we're only approving the draft final plan.
Okay. Thank you.
And then, but then it says,
Oh, no, fine, that's where the language is so crazy. So the final plan is everything, not just the draft survey
Not just a
plat.
survey.
okay,
Oh,
okay,
and then the
Because
second
it's a final,
sentence.
so really what it is, upon approval of the final plan review.
okay, but I think we do, the second part of that sentence, the
Yeah.
subdivider shall prepare a survey plat for recording. So we should say a final survey plat for recording.
Yes,
So
yes,
we should
that's
put
good.
final in
Final
there.
in there. So that is another one under I. So if we continue going on the list that Danielle has up on the screen, number 3 is figure 6.5B, which is.
Oh, actually,
not-
this is Lisa. Can we, I'm not quite done there. I think if we do say a final survey plat, that is where we want to say a signed and stamped and make sure we get that official documentation requirement in.
Well, isn't that a definition?
It's
of a
there,
of a-
it's right there.
Page 39 of the bylaws, there's a list of survey plat specification. And it includes stamp and signature of licensed land survey. Surveyor, it says Mylar, the size of it, the margin size, the locus points, and the scale ratios. So everything is specified in the bylaws.
Sorry, I'm still pulling up my copy of the bylaws, so. You said that's in what section?
It's on page 39 of it's 6.5I.
Mm-hmm.
And it says filing of final survey plat.
Do you want to go on and I'll just look this up, and if there's anything, maybe we could come
Okay,
back. Okay.
okay, we can do that. Okay, figure 6.5B, which is a figure that has plan and survey plat specifications in a figure on page 33. It's before the table. And that one says, under survey plat down near the end, we're suggesting that we add before the last sentence, in that section on survey plat, we put a draft survey plat on paper may be submitted for final plan review.
I'm okay with that.
That's good.
Okay. and then the
Why,
next-
I thought we were trying to get away from paper.
No, what the paper is for our review at the final plan review.
Yeah.
We want them to provide us with the fully documented survey plat, but not with no stamp or that on it. We don't want them providing us a Mylar here at the hearing.
Right, but electronic would be even better because then it has the ability to be, expanded and contracted and
Well,
reviewed.
that's fine for people on Zoom, but people in the room, it's easier to have it here in,
I agree.
on, in paper, so you can pick it up and look at it and
Full size, yeah.
full size, yeah. It's easier in person to have it. And then electronically, it's gonna be when it's sent out, when Danielle sends it out, it's electronic then. So anyone on Zoom can then do it. But if you're here in person, I think,
I agree.
You want a paper,
yeah,
And I think it's important to have a paper copy sent, not just emailed to be printed off, since we don't have color printing
but we
capability.
don't have
And that's a
18 by
huge deal.
24 printing either.
Right, yeah,
So
exactly.
both of those would be missing.
So ultimately what we want is to have a paper, like full D-size drawing that's color available at the meeting. Is that correct? And we
Yeah.
also want to have a PDF that's usable for remote participants.
Right,
That's
isn't
right.
everything required to be submitted
Yeah,
digitally now? So we have that.
Well, except we had that, they sent us a PDF that was not, it was, when they just scanned the documents with the signature, that didn't have adequate resolution.
Can
But when
you
they
write,
say-
but rather than put that in writing, can't we just ask the clerk to, when it comes in, to make sure that it's what we want? Because if they send a PDF, they send a PDF, so you can't specify much
someone can
Um,
take a photo and turn it into a PDF.
Yeah.
And you don't get the resolution when that
Right,
happens.
Right, well, what
Yeah.
sort of wording would work then to make sure we get what we want?
But I don't think we need to, I think there's a point at which you shouldn't put all that in.
I
writing.
don't think that's in going into the bylaws that we require that. I think that should be on the application.
Oh, good point.
Oh, I could go with that, yeah.
Okay. The next is 6.5E. And under 6.5E, a set, I guess it was supposed to be a set of, and it says site plans, and I'm
I
EC.
What is that?
A set of site plans that includes all the information required in table 6.5.
A set of plans. He
Yeah.
wanted it to change to just a set of plans.
Right,
Take
and
site out
take
there.
site out of there.
Because the plans include more than just the site, I guess. Is that the point?
Well, at the application, if they're coming in for preliminary or whatever, they're not gonna have site plans there if they're
For preliminary.
for
you're right,
preliminary,
you're right,
so.
Yeah,
And then now down to 6.5I. The other part is, and this is just because of 24 VSA 4463, 2-year gets crossed out and it's down to expire 180 days from certification.
Right.
And it has, there's an added statement in there that says, DRB may extend date 90 days if final state permits still pending. So it's made sense to me if we're fixing up this old thing, we might as well fix it up to the current statute too.
so that is just, they have 180 days from the certification by the DRB to actually file that subdivision Mylar with
Yep.
the town.
Yep.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so why don't we vote on that top portion to make sure that we're all set? You want to do that, Delcy?
Sure.
I'm
I
fine with it.
make the motion that we accept the numbers 1 through 5 in the top section
I second,
with the changes that we've made.
yeah.
Yeah,
All in
Fine.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Okay,
And then the second part is subdivision classification 6.5C. Talk about going around in circles
I
with
know,
this thing.
but the way this is laid out in the book, you know, I
It-
should see why
it's-
you went back to the, yeah.
So the whole issue that came up in the first place was way back when we said in minor subdivisions, if you go down and you read what minor subdivisions include or are, that's fine, but if you have subdivisions that create a new lot without frontage, it's listed down in number 2 for major subdivisions, and you don't know that unless you think you're doing a minor subdivision and you don't know that this one is an exception. So
Yeah,
the red is just bringing the exceptions up into, for minor subdivisions to say, it's a yeah, but type of situation.
And then keep it under major also.
And
Yes,
keep it
is.
under,
Yep.
keep it under major,
Yeah.
major stuff.
Yep,
Yeah,
And so-
Delcy, there was one, when I was reading this earlier, let me just sort of say this out loud and see if it makes sense, if I can phrase. So the boundary line adjustments that involve one or more districts is going to be a minor subdivision. But then down below, it says under 2, the second dot, second bullet says subdivisions involving more than one zoning district are major subdivisions. Is there a
Right.
conflict there?
So what we're putting in is what we're suggesting, which is that boundary line adjustments themselves, that they could involve more than one zoning district and not have to go down to
major.
major.
Not have to go down to major.
but
For
I think it
instance,
is
like,
Well,
very
Well,
confusing.
do you have to even put in that involve one or more zoning districts? Because what's the alternative? It is either one or more zoning districts.
Oh, good.
Do you know what I
point.
mean?
What?
It's
You
any-
can't have less than one and do a boundary line adjustment.
Good point.
So I think part of the reasoning, I'm trying to zone back in here. So subdivisions involving more than one zoning district. I know that they're talking about different things about this now with PUDs and that. This was part of the discussion with David. And boundary line adjustments are much more minor a situation where even if it's in 2 zoning districts, it really doesn't have an impact the same way as like a whole subdivision does, or even a PUD does.
Right, and
So-
we wanted to simplify the process for boundary line adjustments. We talked
Right.
about that years ago even. Yeah, that it should be a slam dunk.
Well, for instance, the last hearing we had, they were making a boundary line adjustment internal to the property. You know,
Yeah.
and so it wasn't changing any of the outer perimeter, kind of. And that was in 2 zoning
Yeah.
districts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that's part of the reason we wanted to update this too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But do we want to say including and not just that involve? Boundary line adjustments, including those that involve one or more zoning districts?
Yes, I like that, Diana.
thinking, yeah, that's a good idea.
This
Makes
is,
it-
this is Lisa. I'm a little, I'm wondering why that was written that way to begin with. So why there was a consideration that that if it crossed zoning districts, that it would be considered major. And what was the thinking behind that? I mean,
Well,
is it,
we're not talking boundary line adjustments, we're talking subdivisions.
well, a boundary line adjustment is a subdivision. It is a type of subdivision, right?
Type,
It's
Well,
a
it's-
boundary line adjustment is a minor subdivision, and Vermont statute even gives leeway where towns could say that that can be handled by the zoning administrator and doesn't even have to come to a DRB if the
That's
town
new,
so
and-
wishes.
Yeah.
That's in the
new, and we could
statutes.
decide about that too.
Well, I don't think we should push the planning commission that far in terms of thinking about things. I think that, they're giving really good consideration in terms of PUDs and, major subdivisions, and I think that should be the focus right now.
Okay,
But
so this is,
that's, I'm just making that comment, but boundary line adjustments should be fairly simple, straightforward, and cover all the territory that was David's thought on it, and I agree with him.
okay.
And right now, Delcy, I don't have the bylaws open on my screen, but right now, a boundary line adjustment that crosses multiple zoning districts gets bumped up to major, correct?
Right, because it says it's a subdivision involving more than one zoning district.
Exactly. So I would propose Diana's language, boundary line adjustments. What'd you say, Diana, that?
including those that involve one or more zoning districts.
Again, this is Lisa. Again, I'm wondering why it was written that way to begin with. Like, what was the concern that they thought if a boundary line adjustment was going to involve crossing a zoning district, why would it need the extra consideration? Why did they write it that way?
I don't think any of us really know the answer. We weren't here. But, one could surmise that, let's say across a conservation district,
We don't have any.
Mhm.
It may be
Or-
that it really didn't
make,
it really wasn't something of concern because they were looking at subdivisions of being large, multiple lot type of things that, like with the PUD discussion we had last time, was very much more involved with what kind of building are you putting on what kind of places, whereas a boundary line adjustment, other than looking at setbacks or that, anything like that, really doesn't have that kind of impact.
I have a couple of thoughts and they're not all the way thought through, but. So.
I mean, even if it was like wetlands, it would, that you're adjusting the boundary line, it's gonna go through wetlands, what would it matter?
So
No, wait,
basically,
wait.
looks like the
Lisa,
difference
Lisa,
between a,
Hold on, wait.
I'm sorry, go
Patty,
ahead.
Sorry, Patty's got her hand up. Go ahead, Patty.
So if it crosses two zoning districts and it's a PUD and it's gonna be multiple houses, say. And part of that subdivision is in shoreland and part is in rural district. That's two different things, rural district, you have a minimum lot size different than shoreland. So if it covers two districts that have different
Well,
rules.
the planning commission is looking at what to do with PUDs,
Yeah,
as far as,
Okay.
so they're already looking at what they want to do as
Okay.
far as PUDs.
so the other thought is if you have two zoning districts and you're subdividing, well, it could just be for a subdivision that you're just putting one other house, not a PUD. You want to subdivide your property, so you can
Mhm.
put another one over here, and again, one's in shoreland and one's in rural. So you have to follow different, if you're putting.
Yeah.
Right, and this is
So-
Lisa. Those are covered though, and we already are considering those as major subdivisions. I'm just wondering, I mean, a minor subdivision, the difference is like one less review, is that right? So I just wanted, I don't see any problem with it, but I'm wondering what was the point, you know?
I have no idea, and and
don't-
Patty says she doesn't have any idea. We don't know. We'll leave you to go and ferret that out sometime,
Well,
Lisa.
I mean, I don't want to miss anything, so.
Well,
Well, and I think
think it's
things
fine.
changed, no matter what it was back when they first wrote this, whenever it was.
Yeah,
We're dealing with reality today, and I think what we're trying to suggest are changes. And again, I think we have to be careful that we're suggested changes that make it clearer for us in dealing with applications. It's not personal preferences, you
Right,
know,
right.
so. But
Right.
I think, shall we, why don't you just keep going?
I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I'm fine with approving that.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay. The other part, that's all in minor subdivision that needs to be changed.
Well, there's a part here that says this leaves a lot to interpretation. Do we want to?
Well, I just wanted to mention, and Lisa, this is the one that I think is real meaty. Under minor subdivisions, the last bullet is amendments to an approved major subdivision plan that will not substantially change the nature of any previous subdivision or conditions of approval. That doing an amendment, and you sent me something about what's an amendment. Well, here they've got an amendment to an approved major subdivision plan can be considered under a minor subdivision. And it was just like, wow.
well, not substantial.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
Well, what would that be like? Let's say you had a subdivision of 3 houses and then they wanted to subdivide and put a 4th house in. Could we treat that as a minor?
That wouldn't be an amendment because
We'd
That would-
already
that's- yeah,
done like the
that's-
roads and the sewage and blah,
Yeah.
blah.
That wouldn't be an amendment. I don't know
Well,
what an
so that-
amendment is.
it's a,
Yeah, exactly, Delcy. And so I went to the state statute about specifically where they talk about subdivision bylaws.
Yeah,
And they don't use the term amendments anywhere, but they use modification a lot. I mean, they say subdivision bylaws shall establish standards and procedures for approval, modification, or disapproval. So, an amendment would be a modification in the state's language.
I like that, Lisa. I think that
I
makes it
I
more
like it
clear.
too.
To me, an amendment is an amendment to statute.
But
oh,
I would agree. So,
Or an
These-
amendment to our bylaws, but not,
so
I
do you
like
want to,
modification to the subdivision.
are you guys suggesting that we recommend that they change the word amendments to modifications? Or minor modifications or
Yeah, but
whatever?
what's,
What
again,
would
you
you
get
like?
into minor, but I think it's legitimate on bullet 3 and 4. Bullet 3 says amendments to an approved minor subdivision. We could say modifications. That gives us a little more. I mean, I
Yeah.
think we want to be specific while still giving us a little bit of leeway. But I think modification, I think that's a good change. Do people agree to that?
Diana,
Yes.
Diana, can you envision, I support like a minor subdivision, as opposed to major, if someone wants to come in and modify their PUD, for example, or their subdivision. And we want to make it easier. We've already gone through the big plan and now we're just adding something. But what if you have a bad actor or maybe they didn't fulfill everything? I don't know. I mean, could you envision that we want a more thorough review on a modification?
could we word it such?
Well, we can.
That at our
vote.
discretion? we
We,
can,
I think
bump
by,
it.
I think by changing the word to modifications, it does, it still, what still gives us the leeway that I think you're looking for, Christine, is it says that will not substantially change. And that is, that gives us the leeway to say
Yes.
it does substantially change and therefore it's major.
That's a good.
I
point.
like that.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. with-
so-
yeah.
Keep it, so if the modification truly is minor, we'll look at it under
yeah,
under minor subdivision. And if we find that it isn't, or the ZA says, no, this is big news, or
Mhm.
Yeah.
checks with us and says, this is big, then I like that. I think that you're right.
does that satisfy you, Christine?
Yeah, I think so. We would have the discretion. They might argue, but if you feel confident that those words give us the discretion to do a more thorough review,
I think it
that's
does.
fine.
Well,
Okay.
and maybe this is somewhere that we also put a note in the application process that, you know, that the DRB will assess if something needs to be upgraded to a major subdivision, if the changes are too complex. Or something like,
That's
you know,
certainly
to that
something that
effect.
the clerk can let the applicant know. I don't know if we put that in a.
Well, the thing is, I don't wanna, you know, people should know what they're coming in for and what might happen.
Well, we've had people come in with minors and say, and then all of a sudden we go, oh, no, that's a major,
Yeah,
right
and that's
there at
not
the
very
hearing.
nice. I mean,
No,
they're-
it's happened multiple times.
yeah. So, I mean, is there a way we could say, well, there's a possibility that
I
this
don't
could-
think so, Lisa, because the wiggle room that Diana's talking about substantially change is really subject to interpretation.
Right,
So
right.
what
So,
you
I mean,
think is substantial, I don't, kind of thing. So
right.
And
I would
remember,
I would
they
leave it
are-
the way we have it.
they are coming in with sketch plan review, and at sketch plan review, we have the opportunity to really get into questioning and come back at them and say, make any changes based upon them being at the table with a sketch plan of what they want to do. So it doesn't leave it all on the application or the ZA to make that decision. The sketch plan review can.
Right,
step
so
in.
I'm wondering if in our procedures then, Delcy, I mean, do we actually need to have something that says, okay, we are going to confirm that this is a minor change and does not need to be upgraded?
Rather than, I'm gonna go back and support your original comment, Lisa, which under sketch plans here, put a sentence in. The DRB will decide. At this point, under sketch plan review, if it confirm or not, will confirm whether it is a minor or a major subdivision.
That would work for me.
So
The last sentence under sketch plan, put the DRB under the sketch plan review, or it's already under sketch plan. Will confirm, will determine,
Yeah,
but will determine if it's a major or minor.
yeah. That's up at the top of 6.5, figure 6.5B, the first. bullet.
Yeah, put that under there.
Yeah.
Does that, do you agree with that, Christine, too?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Okay,
Fine.
so why don't we
And-
vote on that section then?
well, we only have very little in
No, okay,
One more.
on
Yeah.
the next page.
okay.
And so in major, we suggest putting that, under the bullet, subdivisions that create a new lot without frontage. And put inside the brackets, all proposed access by right of way must be approved according to section 5.4 and table 6.5.
5.4.
And 5.4 is the frontage, the required frontage, and B is lots without frontage. We can put 5.4B if we want, or leave. We sort of thought leave both of them because,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it's both the required number of feet, and if it doesn't have frontage, it doesn't have the required
right,
number of feet, yeah.
It's okay. with
I
me.
hate to dredge up the the recent court case stuff, but is this a case where we need to say, well, and we need to see your deeds if it's an access by right of way? You have to prove to us that you have that right of way.
Oh,
Well, so if it's a proposed access by right of way, then they wouldn't have the deed written to give it a right of way.
but that.
Unless it's
one of
through
the-
somebody, well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But at sketch plan review or preliminary plan review, we can point out that table 6.5, the very last thing is a draft of newly created deeds, covenants, are required for the final plan review. So we can spell it out right there that they have to,
It's already in the table.
it's in the table. Oh, you're talking about if there's already a deed with a right of way.
Well,
And
if there
that's,
already is, yeah.
it says, yeah,
Right, or, well, I'm just wondering if we need to just be more specific that they have to provide proof of the right of way. And rather than it being like a surprise and they get to the final review and we say, oh, where's your deed?
so
could we
I think
just,
that's in our.
could we just list that, you know, there's a table for plan review and the check marks are all underneath.
Yeah,
that
it's
little-
there, it's
Just
there.
add it there.
It's already there. So if you think that's adequate, that's.
Oh,
It
if it's
is.
already there, then I think that's adequate.
Okay,
We just say, where
Yeah.
is it? You know, yeah, if it's not there.
okay.
Okay,
Well, wait, where is it?
it's in table 6.5, the very last thing is legal documents.
Oh, okay, a draft of all newly created or revised deeds, covenant, well.
Or other legal documents associated with the development.
Yeah, okay,
So we just need to use that.
yeah,
Okay, and the last thing is very simple, and it is in 6.5 D1. It says, a minor subdivision may elect to undergo sketch plan review, are exempt from, preliminary plan review and should require final plan review. And I think we just need to put in, the specifics about final plan review, which is 6.5H and table 6.5 to be very specific and clear as to what they need to do.
It's fine.
Yeah, that sounds helpful.
That's it. And then the other thing that David and I discussed was the bylaws do not have a definition for condominium or any wording anywhere in the bylaws about condominiums, and there are statutes for condominiums, and there are condominium issues in North Europe.
so just for the heck of it, when I saw that, I went and looked at the zoning bylaws for South Hero and Grand Isle. And I know there are condos in both, and they didn't have the word condominium in there at all, in their whole bylaws. You know, not that
Yeah.
that means we don't have to, but A condominium is a kind of like I think of it more like a legal
So the interesting thing is,
definition.
back when we had condominiums come before us,
Mhm.
that we had to evaluate and all of that, there was a lot of discussion at that point about HOAs, about the agreements. And it
Mhm.
turns out that if you go back to the statutes and look at it, we could require looking at those and seeing seeing what the agreements, they are a legal document.
Mhm.
And we didn't have any direction on any of that.
So. Do all condominiums have HOA agreements? I don't think they do.
Have what, Patty?
HOA. I don't think there's an HOA agreement up here on the north side of North Hero, the one that we just, and I don't think there is one on Abnaki Road. I know there's a condominium there. Christopher Taylor owns it now, I think.
So I
Yeah.
have no clue.
Yeah.
There's not even a definition of condominium or anything about if you, there's also rules about if you abandon a condominium. If you decondominiumize it.
Okay. Well.
So if you decide that you don't want to have a condominium anymore, or one party doesn't,
I don't know about that.
Is it
Or they're
that-
not living up to the tenants within
it's in the.
the condominium rules. They're not
in the
sharing common
statute.
property anymore, for example. It just over time dissipates.
So there,
Legally.
in the statutes, there's a requirement that comes before the town and a new plat gets.
Well, so if, for instance, one that we considered decided that they just want to separate, then they would have to come before us
Both, well,
separately as a,
they have to at least come before the town. The legal part of it is both parties have to agree, et cetera. But
they have to meet the town's.
they
zoning rules.
have to meet the town zoning rules.
Yeah,
So anyway, I just put that in. David and I talked about it and said, there's nothing there. We want to point that out to the planning commission. If you think we should point it out more, send it more strongly, we can, or take it out. That was just something we talked about.
so condominiums can just cover so many different kinds of situations. It could be two houses, it could be, someone turns North Hero House into a condominium with 3 units in it, what I mean, and it's like.
Yeah.
Those are legal, separations of a housing unit, but. It's,
I mean, I think the whole issue of condominiums, I know when we dealt with the North Hero House, I mean, the shared ownership and of common areas, and, we typically think of these things as like, your individual unit, and then you share, utilities and hallways and, snow plowing and whatever. The thing that threw me was that case we had recently where the Colburn and the McKinseys had a condominium, and I was like, what? I didn't really understand I didn't really, it didn't sync with my understanding of condominium, or the usual legal definition and framework for a condominium. So I'm sort of wondering, like, is that really a condominium
Well,
in
there
that
was-
example, or is that some other creature?
no.
No, there was the example at the south end of the island too that came with changing a boundary line and an access road that was a condominium
Mhm.
just last year.
Oh, and there's a
Yeah, Christine,
condominium.
this is Lisa.
sorry.
My understanding, I mean, just from the looking at how those work is that those condominium associations were created to bypass zoning regulations where there was a specific minimum land requirement, or so they're able to both claim, they're able to claim a larger area of land. Does that make, I mean, that's what I've gathered from. but
Half the
that's
land,
just something that-
it can't be counted twice though, you know what I mean?
it
By
can be,
both-
if you have, yeah. Because if you have a common area, then you both
Then you
have,
both can claim it. Oh, wow. Yeah,
well,
I
I
guess
mean,
so.
except that, the whole thing is evaluated differently. It's as a, well, it would be a PUD really, right?
So let me ask you a
Yeah.
question here, because I think we're trying to solve a North Hero issue that is really not ours to solve, but just to question.
Yeah,
And that is,
bring up.
should we leave in a recommendation or a request to the planning commission to take a look at if there needs to be something in the zoning and development bylaws, the land use that refers to condominiums? Does there need to be a definition? And also the abandonment of a condominiums, because then it does come down to a zoning issue. It comes down to a zoning issue if they're sharing common land because the lot sizes are too small. If all of a sudden they abandon it, one or two or three of the lot sizes are still gonna be too small, what impact is that on zoning?
May I suggest that that's something that we should look into further, and that's not something that we should vote on tonight, the
Okay.
condominium issue, and that what we need to get to the planning commission by their meeting in 2 weeks is the major minor, which is what they've requested. But
Yep.
that because we have some other things that were on David's list too, to look at.
Okay,
And so maybe condominium, I think, needs a lot of research, because I think you've brought up legitimate questions. Does the people?
Yeah, I think Diana's right. I feel like we have to be really clear about what problem we're trying to solve here.
Yeah,
And
okay.
it's gonna take, I don't want to create problems and go blah, 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 here's the legal definition, but it's not really solving the problem that we have. So we need to kind of figure out what problem are we trying to solve? And then, we probably, as Diana said, need research and need some legal help.
Okay, crossed it off the list.
Okay, so
So
why
the rest,
why don't we vote on the rest then? Under 6.5C. All those, I need
I move to approve,
Patty moved to approve.
6.5.
I second.
Delcy second, all in favor? All opposed? Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so now thank you, everybody. We will get that written up and we'll send that to the planning commission. And now we're gonna go into procedures.
did everybody get the document that I sent today that has the red lines in? And I apologize only sending it today, but I sent Diana something and it didn't have any of the red line stuff in it, so she didn't know what the changes were, so went back and figured it out and.
My document, when I open it up from the link you sent, I have purple changes.
Oh, well, that's fine.
That's fine. That's the new
When I
language.
went back and opened it up, mine were blue. I sent it out red and they came back blue, so I have no, I don't know.
Typically, new language is green and red is strikeout. You strike out
Not-
the red line and you write new language in green, go. But who knows what the program.
This is, I have an AI on my shoulder now with my new Windows 11 that I'm getting used to. And I mean, it's writing the words out ahead of me. I haven't figured out yet how to say, yes, those are the words that I want, but,
Okay, why don't we get going then?
okay. If we start at the beginning and start going down until we get to our first change,
That one, I think, needs a fix. I think it is 310-3.
so
But
I
Where are we?
understand. Can you point out where, because I took that from the VCL, the Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns. And in one place they had 2 and the other place they had 5.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the statute
Yep,
online, and its deliberations is 3.
it is 3.
Okay, so where are you?
The
Deliberative
first red
session.
line there at deliberative sessions.
Yeah.
She referenced 1 VSA 310-2,
Okay,
and I think it's
3.
3.
Oh, yes,
They did it wrong,
they did it wrong.
yeah.
So that's a 3.
okay.
Okay,
Next one is under board members, Delcy.
no. The next one, whoop, you just went past it. Next one is changing our meeting time to 6:30.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Executive
There's some
session.
underlines, Christine, but that's not what the changes were. It's just the
Did I
red.
go by it?
Like I see some blue underlines. I think it's Word trying to, Microsoft Word trying to correct the spelling maybe, or the grammar.
Huh. I don't have that.
What page?
Oh, here we go. It's G,
G,
page 5.
regular and
Okay.
special meetings.
Okay, to 6:30, yeah,
What number is that?
G. And it's at the
G?
top, G, page 5.
Oh, so. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, so I think what happened in the document, maybe I should be on, Danielle, do you have this up on the screen too?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
All right, let me get out of the document and go with Danielle here. Because I am seeing, little grammar changes. Delcy, like wants to make changes.
Oh,
And-
that's,
And
I
I'm
don't know
thinking,
why we don't have that in this one, so,
right. So I need Danielle's screen. Okay.
so your
Okay.
AI system, it has doubled up on my AI system and given you
Oh,
more than you
God.
need to know.
I think it's
Right.
Microsoft.
Okay, let's keep going. We got 6:30 and, sorry,
Okay,
trying to move
6:30.
this along.
Thank you.
Next is G5, yeah. It's totally about.
So this is to statute,
Mhm.
the revised statute, and so I put that right in there about the agenda.
Okay,
And I looked out.
we're just gonna assume everybody's okay unless somebody objects.
Right.
Yeah, okay,
This was just the 48 hours one, right?
yep.
Okay.
And now we're on I, preliminary reviews, bottom of page 7.
Oh, there was an H that referenced appendix.
Yeah, H has a,
Oh.
a
Sorry, I
change.
didn't.
That's fine. If you're just adding more specificity.
See appendix D on the copy I have. Huh, that's weird that, So,
Where is that?
Danielle, see up on top there, it says updates available, update.
You want me to update
I
that?
think you need to update it, because the Well, I'm not sure, not enabling, well, we might have to.
It says, updates for Office are ready to be installed, but first we need to close some apps, so I don't know if that's gonna like really.
Yeah.
Because my copy has the H highlighted. Does yours, Delcy? H,
I,
it says see appendix B
Yeah,
after the
Ye-
first sentence.
yes, that,
But that.
there's
but
a
that-
little bar on the left,
it
that,
doesn't have it,
you-
but
oh, you don't have the bars? The little bars on the left indicate that Delcy made a change and to look at that line.
There isn't a
No.
bar on the copy.
We don't
that
have it,
Danielle
yeah.
has up on the screen.
But the C appendix B, it definitely, because appendix B is the new.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
Open,
But it should say see appendix B.
Which
That's
number is
on the
this, so I can
copy
note
you
it?
sent.
under H.
it's under H, right in the first paragraph.
H, first paragraph.
After the B there.
After the B, what do you want to say? C,
See appendix B. Is what it says on my copy. that I
Yeah.
got.
CSEE appendix.
Yes.
SEE.
It's in,
I don't know why it's not showing, but it
I
might be
don't-
because of the
I don't-
update.
Okay.
I just think that might not be good for
Yeah,
us to
okay,
okay.
go down that rabbit hole right now.
Right, so if we miss another one, let us know.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
please.
And then on 3, ex parte is underlined, but that's not a change. Never mind.
no,
I think the next change is, just formatting 1819.
yes, that, don't worry about that. I put in my thing,
Yeah,
the formatting and the spacing. I will realign all of that after the changes are made. So the next one is in I.
the minutes.
And that's just no written decision by DRB is provided in the preliminary plan review. And then here, I had
This is,
Little-
sorry, decisions, L.
decisions, yeah.
That
The,
one isn't up to date. I don't think. Oh, yeah, okay, so the members, yeah, I don't have that 6 up there with the formatting, yeah, okay, so the members may continue.
so added in, members may continue deliberative discussion by phone, email, or in person.
Mhm.
And then 8 is a draft decision shall be circulated to members to provide comment and or final approval within a 72-hour period, which is what we agreed to on that 72-hour period.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so if you've gone beyond the 72-hour period, I don't think I know, like, Lisa, you commented today on a decision, but that decision went out a couple of weeks ago, so probably it's not necessary to comment beyond the 72-hour. As
Right.
long as. we
Sorry,
have
that
a-
was my error. I thought it had just come in and I was being really prompt.
You sound like me now, Lisa, you're in trouble.
So are we good with those?
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, but there's another one on 9 that doesn't show up on Danielle's copy there, and I couldn't figure out
What is it?
what
What
it
is it?
means. It goes after the 1209. See the first sentence of
Yeah.
9.
Yeah,
This one, my copy says check 4464 B3 regarding certified mail.
oh, that's a note that I put, thank you. How come you have it and she doesn't?
I don't know.
I don't know.
This is weird.
I think that.
It might be because
updates
I'm not,
available.
yeah, I might need updates.
So is that just a
Okay.
note or is that
So
something to
this
change?
this is a note to ask again. The certified mail, one of the 1209, which is what we list there, doesn't say anything about certified mail. But the 44,
64.
64 still has certified mail in it. And I wanted to check what you actually are doing in terms of a decision. Are you sending them out certified mail or not?
No. What
Mike
I've been
started
at,
doing it by email, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
what I was just gonna say, what I've been advised is to do it by email whenever possible.
Right, so
We
we
need to
just
correct
leave
that.
in the 24 VSA 1209.
So 24 BSA 4464. Oh,
We
you
just
wanna
take that
it
out.
Out of there?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to bring that up as a question.
So we're gonna
okay.
take out by certified mail.
Well, so, but
Yeah.
24 BSA 4464, are you saying it doesn't say certified mail anymore?
No, the 4464 does say it, but
Okay.
when I asked the question of, I called Greta. And she said, they changed some of all of these, the statutes so quickly that, some of the wording and some of the subsidiary statutes didn't catch up with the main statutes.
So why don't we just say on which it is sent to the applicant, take out by certified mail.
Yeah,
But this is Lisa.
yeah,
I think it would be valuable to send it by certified mail because there's a timeline that has to be, that's established, and they have a limited number of days to act on the decision.
That's true.
So I
But
think,
on- The same thing as far as knowing when they sign for it on the certified mail is when you get an email. I think Danielle does put on it, please confirm receipt of this email.
And I do a read receipt as
And
well.
she does a read receipt. So we do have a date.
Oh, that's
And the other problem is that certified mail with mail being so bad,
Mhm.
especially
Yeah.
if you're going to Canada.
And,
it's-
and I've had people
Oh my
who have
God.
refused their certified mail because it's from the town.
Ah,
Even if they're expecting like a decision or something, they won't sign for it.
Yeah, I
so.
think in this day and age, if we just, as long as we have confirmation that it was received, open, read, whatever, I
Mhm.
think.
so let's take out the certified mail.
I mean,
Got it.
okay, I mean, does it hold up in court? Because this, I've always been told that it has to be certified mail because nothing else is valid.
Well,
So we are listing the same 24 VSA 1209 that's always been in there. We are not changing that. And 1209 does not. It just says that the chair is responsible for making sure that the decision goes out to the applicant and the interested parties.
And Greta confirmed
Yeah.
that you don't need to have it by certified mail.
That's, she said the others
Yeah.
hadn't caught up with the main one, which is 1209.
okay, so are you saying
Okay.
out the next sentence then?
Just take out by certified mail.
Well, but see.
No,
so it
it's
says a
sent by-
decision is considered issued on the date on which it
Is
is sent
sent
by
by-
certified mail to the applicant.
What'd you say is sent to the applicant?
Okay.
And then you have options.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
the takeout, yeah, sent by certified mail, okay,
let me know if there's anything that
okay.
I'm passing.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through. Just now we get to appendix B, yeah,
Okay. so
What page is
what's-
that on? Let me
That
see.
is end of page 12.
and see on mine, it's the end of page 14,
Oh,
that's weird.
Oh, you have the absolute latest one, because it's weird. There's a whole page in there that is a blank page that I couldn't make it get rid of.
Oh.
So you had, page 13 is totally blank in your version. Don't ask me.
Okay, find a way to replace this with the updated version.
Oh, okay, so you can remove that part because the one that you have
Doesn't
has,
have that.
doesn't have that because I went ahead and typed everything into it.
Oh, my God.
So take out that line, find a way to replace this.
So the one that
Okay.
you brought up is
Is older than what.
the one
I
that's
have.
the one you have.
Yeah,
So you brought up the one that I sent
This morning.
earlier, and you have the one that I sent. You can't have the same ones. You got the email this
It-
morning? You got the email this,
So I opened it up this morning
yeah,
and then.
It might be
but
because
then
my
I just
updates.
opened it
I
up
don't know.
again.
So what does yours say that's different from what's up there?
I don't have the find a way to replace the updated
Right.
version online.
so
Okay.
what
Where are you, Patty? Patty, where are you? What are you saying?
Actually, this one, we don't even have to worry about this one.
Yeah,
What I went and did was Appendix B is an exact copy of one VSA 312. And when I wrote what you see on the screen, it was like, there's gotta be a way to pull this up and
copy and paste.
I don't have the expensive PDF to Word
Adobe.
to be able to get it. So I said, I'm not gonna type it all in,
So-
but then I did. So what's in
Okay.
there?
So what's in there is what you want in there.
What's in there? What is in B is the exact verbiage for the whole statute and nothing else. It's, So don't
we should
worry
just
about
leave
it.
that alone.
just leave it alone.
If you ever
Leave
read
it
that again,
updated.
If you open that again, tell me and I can get it and I'll convert it to Word for you and send it to me.
Okay.
I wouldn't, yeah.
Is that the same
And that's-
thing as under two?
Yeah.
It's
So all of this is,
All of this. And the only thing I wanted to bring to your attention, was they really focus in here on, agendas and, stuff like that they didn't before. They really revised certain parts of, 312. And I don't know exactly why, but they did.
Okay.
So,
So you
that's it.
updated 312, yeah.
Chelsea, I have one question under the decisions section.
yep,
We're spelling out, the following rules shall apply to voting on decisions. So maybe this isn't the right place. But number 7 says members may continue deliberative session through discussion by phone, email, in person. You know, this new thing that we learned that, we weren't adhering to? When deliberations may start, we learned that we really can only deliberate once a hearing is closed.
yeah.
Do we want to put that in somewhere?
But that's not new.
Wait, does the,
It's, right, it's not
Yeah.
new, but we weren't doing it and now we are. Because we
We never
used
went,
to-
we never went into deliberations until we closed the hearing.
This is Lisa. Christine, you're not crazy. We did often go into
Yeah.
deliberations before the hearing was closed in the
Yeah.
olden days.
Yeah, I guess, was it that long ago? Okay, all right. I withdraw.
so you mean closing the hearing, meaning we're ready, we know the answer, we're not gonna talk about it anymore, or ending the meeting? Cause I didn't realize.
No, so when we close a hearing, formally close a hearing, then we can go into deliberation. We go on with additional parts of, if there's another hearing and another hearing.
Yeah.
And then we go in deliberation at the end
Mhm,
after all of them.
for all of them. But is it?
And that's
These-
where I think, Patty, years ago,
If-
we would, close hearings, go into deliberative session on, and then someone would bring up the hearing that didn't close, that was still under consideration, and we'd start talking about that. But we don't do that anymore.
We're not supposed to.
Right.
Okay,
Okay,
all right. So we were down to,
I think
We're
we're
done.
done.
we're
We're
done?
done.
Is that everything?
That's everything.
Appendix A, Appendix B.
The rest are just.
Somewhere in yours, there's the part that the electronic meeting, the hybrid meeting is now completely written into the public
was-
meeting.
that- I
Yeah,
saw
we
that.
did that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in Appendix B, not
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
VSA
okay.
statute 312.
yeah,
Got it.
it's all in.
So it's all in there now.
Okay, and so I'll just scroll down to the end to make sure,
Yep.
and we're good.
All right, well, why don't we vote on this then?
Okay.
Motion to approve proposed changes to, updates to the procedures.
I'll move.
Yeah,
Christine moved,
I second.
Patty second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approved, thank you.
There's
Thank
a
you.
couple of things that we cleaned up, like the 3 to 2. Yeah, 2 to 3,
Well done.
and yay.
Okay, I think we're done then. Any other business?
Is,
This is Lisa. I sent out some information about water source protection. Just at the end of the day, so I'm sure no one's had a chance to look at that yet. But
That's
I'm hoping
correct.
we can discuss it maybe at the next meeting.
Yeah,
We can
I-
put
I-
it on the agenda. I will tell you, I believe we have 2, if not 3 hearings.
We have 2.
So but we will be sort of like our procedures. We'll get
Right.
to it.
Okay. Thanks.
Will you be prepared to lead that section then?
Sure.
Okay, okay.
We do have.
A reminder, Diana, I won't be at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you for letting us know. Oh,
What-
sorry,
what
we,
did-
we,
Tanya?
we missed ZA report, sorry.
It's
Danielle.
okay, it's quick. February was quiet still. I did issue 2 permits for accessory dwelling units. So that's exciting. And again, it was pretty slow in February. March has picked up quite a bit, so I'll have a lot more to talk about at the next meeting. And that's
Okay.
about it.
Okay,
people are getting ready.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay, if there's no other business, then, we will adjourn. At 7, look at this, Patty, 7:53,
Mm.
Wow.
PM until April 10th at 6:30. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll motion to
I-
adjourn.
I
Lisa,
second.
Delcy second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good night all.
Wow.
Enjoy
Okay.
yourself, Christine.
Well done, team.
Thank
Yeah.
you,
Thanks.
everybody.
Thanks, Delcy, for your diligence here.
Yes, thank you,
Yeah.
Bill.
I now have statutes. I replaced some of